Hi, my name's Archer. I raised my daughter alone after her mother left. I paid for her schooling, her rent, even her wedding flowers. But the only thing I got back was a returned invitation. Then my brother told me, even a loser like you can fund joy once. They erased me from the video, from the photos, from the family. But I'm still here, and they're about to see why. I sat at the kitchen table in the retirement home, the same creaky chair, same cracked mug. The coffee had gone cold, but I kept stirring it. Habit, maybe. Or just something to do with my hands. There was a stillness in that small room, like the world had gone on without me and forgot to leave a note. 67. Retired. Alone. They say a man isn't old until regrets take the place of dreams. I read that once, years ago. I didn't think it would hit so hard now. Birthdays used to mean something. Balloons, burnt cake, messy kisses. These days, it's just silence. Or worse, polite rejection wrapped in a bow. I looked down at the card I'd opened that morning. "Enjoy the cruise," it said in bold gold letters. Inside, a scribbled thank you note from Joy, my daughter. She'd used the $50,000 I gave her. Not for me, not even to say I was invited. Just a thanks, a smile, and a wish for smooth sailing. No mention of her wedding, not even a date. There's a cruelty in American politeness. People think if they say it with a smile, it doesn't sting. 3 months ago, she'd called me, crying, overwhelmed. I could hear the stress in her voice, the kind that makes a father sit up straighter. She said the venue raised prices, the flowers were more expensive than expected, the band canceled. I didn't even hesitate. "I'll help," I said. "50,000 enough?" She cried harder, thanked me like I'd saved her life. Said she didn't know what she'd do without me. I mailed the check the next day, slipped in an old photo of her on her first bike. God, she was 5. Pink helmet too big for her head. I thought maybe that would bring back something warm, something real. I didn't tell anyone, not my ex-wife, not the boys. It wasn't about bragging. That's just what dads do, I told myself. We show up, we pay, we disappear. What I didn't expect was to be erased completely. The phone rang that afternoon. Ryan. My youngest. He stumbled through the small talk. "Hey, Dad. So, the wedding." I knew it was coming before he said it. There's a tone people use when they're about to hurt you, a rehearsed softness. Joy thought maybe it'd be better if you didn't come. She figured you'd be out of place. She's going for a modern, clean vibe. You know, less drama. That phrase, less drama, landed like a sucker punch. I sat still for a moment, my hand tightening around the handle of the coffee mug. I said, "Tell her the 50K can fund joy. Even a loser like me can do that once." Ryan didn't know what to say. I heard him inhale, then nothing. I didn't hang up. Just let the silence carry the message. After he clicked off, I sat back in my chair. The kitchen walls felt closer, the air heavier. I thought back to the last family photo. I wasn't in it. I was the one taking it. Just like always. Father's Day, they posted about their rock and their hero. But I never got a call. And I wasn't a person in their lives. I was a background object, a silent fixture. I opened the closet across the hall. The suit I'd bought for the wedding still hung there, tags untouched, navy blue, classic. I ran my fingers down the lapel, then backtracked. I hung it deeper into the closet, behind an old winter coat. Out of sight, like me. Sometimes your family's the one that hurts you most, not with fists or screams, but with omission, with absence, with the space they leave where love should have been. Even now, part of me wanted to believe it was a mistake, that maybe the invite got lost, or that she'd call last minute. But people show you who they are. You just have to stop making excuses. Later that evening, I walked into the retirement dining hall. The place buzzed with soft conversation and the clink of silverware. Lorraine, the lady who always sat by the window, waved me over. "Thought you'd be at that big wedding today," she said, smiling. I sat down slowly. Turns out I wasn't invited. But the money made it, so I guess I did show up in a way. She blinked. Didn't know what to say. That made 2 of us. I stared into my coffee. It was hot this time, fresh. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote a letter I didn't intend to send. After dinner, I sat at my desk, the overhead light flickering a bit, just enough to be annoying. The halls were quiet, just the hum of distant TVs and soft footsteps of night nurses moving from room to room. I stared at a blank sheet of paper, not the kind you send, just the kind you write on to let things out without shouting. You looked beautiful in the photos I wasn't meant to see. That's how I started. Simple, honest, not bitter, not yet. I kept writing. I still remember the day you fell off your bike and scraped your knee. You looked up at me like I could fix the whole world. And I tried, with band-aids and hugs and corny jokes. I stayed up with you through math meltdowns, school crushes, and that prom night disaster when he didn't show. I was there. I paused. I guess I'm writing this because the hardest part isn't being left out. It's wondering if I ever mattered in the first place. There was no anger in the ink. Just layers, years of doing the invisible work that somehow made me invisible too. I opened the drawer, looking for that photo of us at Yosemite, the one where we all laughed so hard we cried. I thought I'd add it to the letter, like sealing the past into a time capsule. Instead, I found something else. A small flash drive, labeled in Joy's handwriting. For Joy's slideshow. Ryan had dropped it off a while back, said he was helping her prep the wedding video. I don't think he realized he'd left it behind. I hadn't thought about it until now. I plugged it into my old laptop, heart already bracing for something I couldn't name. The slideshow opened. Music, transitions, all polished. Joy as a baby, Joy in pigtails, Joy at her first job. Christmases, birthdays, beach trips, all the usual suspects. And then I noticed. I wasn't in them. Not just absent. Erased. In one photo, my hand was still visible on the edge of the frame, but my body had been cropped out. In another, where I distinctly remember holding the camera, it was credited to Carl, her stepfather, in a typed caption below. Thanks, Dad, for always capturing the best memories. I sat back, stared, retroactively erased. That's what it felt like my presence had been edited out with purpose. I added a line to the letter. Do you remember who took the photo you cropped? Later that night, I stepped outside. The air was crisp, sharp enough to wake you up from a daze. Lorraine was there again, sitting on the bench beneath the jacaranda tree. She held a paper plate with a slice of cake, white frosting, pink roses. From a wedding down the hall, she said. Not your daughter's. She didn't say it to hurt me. She said it because sometimes truth shows up in strange packaging. I sat beside her, took the offered fork. She edited me out of her life, I said. Not just the wedding. Lorraine nodded like someone who knew that pain up close. People your own blood forget you. It's always the ones you helped most. She leaned back, eyes on the stars peeking through the city haze. You can still write your part in the story, just not in their chapter. I didn't answer, just let her words sink in. Later, I added them to the letter, tucked between the memories and the questions. The next morning, I went to the front desk, asked the nurse's aide, Ethan, if he could help me print the letter. I said I wanted to burn it, just something cathartic. Ethan nodded, already juggling a phone call, and told me to email it to the front desk printer. I did. He handed me a small stack of papers and went back to his call. Back in my room, I sat down, ready to crumple the letter up. But it wasn't there. I rifled through the papers. A grocery list. A bulletin. No letter. I walked back out. The outgoing mail bin was sealed, pickup already done for the day. I stood there, hand frozen above the bin. Well, I muttered, I guess the truth got tired of waiting. Part of me wanted to panic. Another part, the older, quieter part, just felt finished. I whispered to myself, was I more afraid of hurting her, or of her not caring at all? That night, just after lights out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. It rang twice, then stopped. No voicemail. Just silence. I stared at the screen for a long time, Then opened my email, checked the sent folder. The letter was gone. Maybe silence was easier, I whispered, because it didn't echo. I woke to the same old routine. Coffee, the morning paper, a breath of fresh air on the patio. I told myself that small rituals would anchor me. But today, a neighbor leaned over and said, "Did you see the wedding live stream last night? Beautiful setup." My heart thumped, and then sank. I smiled weakly, returned to my room, and found the link on Joy's social media. A new chapter begins. The toast that brought us to tears. I hesitated. I didn't want to watch, but I clicked anyway. The video opened with Carl holding a glass, offering a toast. To Joy, who made me feel like a real dad. My name? Not once mentioned. Not even a whisper. My chest tightened. My throat caught. No tears, just a bitter swallow. Then a cousin raised a glass and joked, "Here's to the ones who showed. And the ones who should've." Laughter echoed. I closed the laptop, face blank. Memory washed over me. High school graduation, a small backyard gathering. It was just the two of us and a bottle of root beer. I raised my glass to her then and said, "It's not who walks you down the aisle. It's who stood by you when no one else did." She cried, hugged me. "Don't ever stop showing up," she whispered. Now I whispered to myself, "Guess you stopped needing me to." I opened my journal, jotted that line, closed it again. Later that evening, I walked outside. The jacaranda tree overhead bloomed quietly. Lorraine was there, slice of wedding cake in hand. She offered it. We sat. I said, "They toasted a man who waltzed in late and left me out of the credits." She sighed. "That's human nature. People love endings more than stories." Her eyes were kind but sharp. "You want closure. Don't find it in their applause. Find it in your silence." I nodded. My eyes stung. I dug into my pocket and retrieved a small photo of Joy at 6, at that camping trip I took her on. She smiled in that image, unaware of the future. That night, I sat at my desk again. I opened a new document titled, "To Whom It May Concern at My Daughter's Wedding." I wrote a single line. "You toasted memories that never belonged to you." Then came a knock at the door. Copy code. Chapter 4. The Boundary Line. The week passed slow and heavy. I hadn't heard anything after the letter. No calls, no messages, not even a wrong number, just quiet. And for the first time, it wasn't peaceful. That Friday, I found myself driving across town to San Diego. I didn't plan it. I just ended up behind the wheel, letter folded in my coat pocket. My hand gripped the steering wheel too tight for comfort. I rehearsed what I might say, stopped, then started over again. I wasn't sure if I wanted closure or just a witness. When I parked outside her office, I stayed in the car for a while. Through the big glass windows, I saw her laugh with a coworker, tuck her hair behind her ear, walk confidently toward the elevator. Unbothered, living like I'd never existed. Lorraine's words whispered back to me. Closure doesn't need their cooperation. Maybe not, but I still needed her eyes. 5 seconds of looking at me like I was real. She came out at dusk, bag slung over her shoulder, distracted by her phone. When she looked up, her whole body tensed. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "No shouting," I said calmly. "Just 5 minutes." She hesitated, then nodded. We sat on a stone bench near a fountain. The city lights flickered across the water like something trying to remember itself. I handed her the letter, told her not to open it yet. "I didn't come to guilt you. I came because I need to draw a line." Her arms crossed over her chest like they always did when she didn't want to feel too much. I kept going. "There have been boundaries crossed. Not just this wedding, years. You invited Carl to your teacher meetings, but told me I was too intense. I needed peace, Dad. You always wanted things your way. I wanted your safety, your health, your sense of worth. But I guess I was too loud for your comfort zone." She said nothing. "You didn't forget to invite me, Joy. You removed me." "And that's different." Her jaw clenched. She looked down. "I didn't want to fight at my wedding? And you thought pretending I didn't exist would be less violent?" Her eyes flared. I was trying to keep peace. Whose peace? I asked, quieter now. Because it sure wasn't mine. The air between us thickened. She said, I can't fix everything in one conversation. I'm not asking for that, I replied. But you don't get to rewrite the story while I'm still breathing in it. She looked like she might cry, but didn't. That made it worse somehow. You remember when you first called me Dad? I asked. You were 5. You scraped your knee on the driveway. You cried until you saw me walk out. You reached up, called me that name like it came with safety stitched into it. That meant everything. I just wanted to keep earning that. Her lip trembled, but she didn't say sorry, just looked away and whispered, I can't go back. I didn't come here for back. I came to Mark where I stopped bleeding. I stood slowly, handed her the letter again. If you read it, don't read it as my fatherhood. Read it as my farewell. And I walked away, leaving her on that bench with city lights dancing at her feet and a truth she never wanted to touch. Plain text copy code. I woke to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Unknown caller. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Morning light crept in and I finally pressed play on the voicemail. Joy's voice, but not for me. She was speaking to someone else, frustration clear in her tone. I didn't need his guilt trip, she said. He still thinks love is ownership. Then, he's not coming back into my life. That line cut through me. I sat in darkness, coffee long gone cold, listening again, hoping to mishear. Instead, I heard betrayal, a reality I'd felt but never voiced. I slipped on my coat and left the apartment. I drove toward the coastline. The Pacific spread wide under a pale sky. I walked along the dunes, inhaling salty air, letting the ache simmer, the kind that doesn't scream. I remembered Joy falling off her bike, tears running down her cheeks, me kneeling beside her, telling her she'd bounce back. Inside me, I thought, you didn't fall this time. You pushed me off. I stopped at a bench and recorded a voice memo. I never tried to own you. I only tried to be enough. I didn't press send. Later, Ryan called. Out of the blue. We need to talk. I agreed to meet him at the beachside lot. He showed up 10 minutes later, worried eyes. He said, Joy's not entirely wrong, but it's unfair. He told me she's been fed stories, that I forced myself into situations, made things dramatic. He admitted resentment, too, how the family quietly rewrote my role at the wedding. I listened. Then I said, you let them do it, too. We sat on the hood of his car. The wind tugged at the papers in my coat pocket. He cleared his throat. The voicemail wasn't even for you, he said. My heart stalled. It was meant for Carl. Shared iCloud, old settings, misrouted. I paused, then let out a harsh laugh. So I'm collateral damage. He sounded ashamed. I'm sorry. She might come around. Don't push too hard. I looked at the ocean. Distant lights. Maybe I'm not pushing. Maybe I'm pulling back. That evening, I listened one last time. I deleted the voicemail. Silence swallowed the recording, but not its weight. I sat in the faint glow of the lamp, looked at the RSVP card still in my drawer, never mailed. I whispered, the worst pain isn't being hated. It's being unneeded. I pressed send to no one. I tucked the card away, closed the drawer slowly, and just as I closed my eyes, a name lit up on my screen. I woke up before the sun reached the blinds. There was no pacing, no hesitation, no replaying the night before in my head. I just sat up, opened my laptop, and started sorting through everything. Statements, vendor contracts, financial summaries. I had forgotten how much of myself I'd put into this family's empire, my signature scattered across dotted lines like a man too proud to ask for credit and too stupid to demand it. But not today. 50 grand was nice, Joy had said. I could still hear it, nice, like a holiday tip, like a favor. I muttered it out loud once more. Nice for whom? There's an old quote I scribbled down years ago in a notebook I never finished reading. In a broken home, sometimes the silent one holds the deepest scars. I don't know who wrote it. Might have been me, might have been someone wiser. But it sat heavy on my chest now, a reminder. I texted Joss. Need copies of all active contracts tied to elegant events. Noon, deadline. They made the mistake of thinking I wouldn't play the cards I paid for. Before the world finished mocking me, I'd make damn sure the table flipped. By 11:30, I pulled up in front of elegant events. Big glass windows, fancy font on the door. I walked straight in. Victoria sat behind the desk, clipboard in hand, voice chirping into a Bluetooth headset. She paused mid-sentence when she saw me. "Mr. Callahan, we weren't expecting you." "You're not the bride," I said. "Not the groom either. But I own your venue, your florist, your caterer. Cancel it all." She blinked. "I'm sorry?" I said cancel it. Venue. Food, photos, hotel blocks, everything. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She finally stammered. "Over 200 guests have already—" "Refund them," I said. "Or don't. Send the bill to their families. I'll be keeping my $50,000. Consider it a cancellation fee." Her hands shook. Her headset slipped off her ear. "Mr. Callahan, please. If we cancel now, you shouldn't have accepted my money if you weren't willing to treat it like mine." The woman who'd cheerfully dismissed me in emails, in meetings, behind closed doors. Suddenly she remembered who signed the checks. "You'll ruin your son's image," she whispered, almost like a warning. "He already tried to ruin mine," I said flatly. "I'm just leveling the field." She glanced at the door, maybe hoping someone would walk in and save her. I slid a folder onto the counter. Inside were the details of other properties, quietly purchased under shell companies, venues they'd tried to switch to after freezing me out. She flipped through the pages. Her face went pale. "You can't corner a man who built the room," I told her. She asked, voice thin, "Why now?" I leaned closer. "Because you pretended this business was yours. It wasn't. You wore it like a crown. But the deed never changed hands." She opened the folder again, stared at the contract naming me as the sole proprietor. I walked out without another word. By mid-afternoon, the wave had crashed. Vendors called, hotels canceled, photographers pulled out. I could feel the ripples all the way across town. Truett's office buzzed. Clients demanded explanations. Staff scrambled. I didn't have to make a single call. I'd already done my part. Just one push, and the whole tower tilted. My phone buzzed. A text from Brea. "Dad, don't go too far." I set the phone face down on the kitchen counter. "Too far," I repeated to no one. The words hung there. In my mind, I saw Truett's younger face, back when he first pitched the idea for his events company. Nervous, hungry. I gave him his first loan, sat with him through planning meetings, even helped with vendor connections. I didn't ask for credit back then, but that was my mistake. This wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. The sky dimmed as I drove back home. The streets blurred past the windshield. It wasn't just the wedding I'd shut down today. It was the silence they fed on. I wasn't going to be their shadow anymore. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something on the welcome mat. A white envelope, formal lettering. My name, typed. Archer Callahan. I picked it up, opened it. Inside, a typed note. One sentence. "You've made a powerful enemy today." I flipped the card over. There it was, the handwriting. Not Carl's, but I knew it. I knew it like I knew my own reflection. As I stood on the porch, fingers tightening around the letter, I whispered to the night, "Never threaten a man whose silence you thought you owned." I parked across the street from Joy's apartment building and just sat for a moment, heart thudding. The dusk light painted long shadows over the sidewalks. I rehearsed what I would say. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to speak." But voices in my head twisted it already. I stepped out, climbed the stairs. I froze at her door and knocked. Once, twice. No answer. Inside, I glimpsed movement through the sheer curtain. Joy, walking away, arm in arm with Carl, bundled in a coat for the evening. She pulled him close. My throat tightened. She wasn't avoiding me. She was practicing absence. I turned and walked down the hall, letting the emptiness echo behind me. I found the rooftop she often escapes to. The city stretched out beneath us, lights winking at dusk. There they were, Joy and Carl, low voices, close proximity. I stepped into the scene. I thought I'd lost my voice, but I've found it again, I said sharply. Carl stiffened. Joy startled. You built your vows, your toasts, on the foundation of my silence, I said. Her eyes darted. You never asked me what I wanted, she shot back, voice brittle. I did ask, I said. You ignored me. You rewrote my role. The wind caught my jacket. I shifted, looking at both of them. My presence felt unstable, but I stood firm. I remembered something Joy once told me about a mirror in her apartment. It's perfect for selfies, Dad, not for truth. I said it now. You choose how you see me, but you can't erase my reflection. She blinked. Carl's face hardened. Then I let slip a message I had seen. A private text she'd sent to a friend. Dad is too much. Her eyes flickered. She hadn't expected me to know. I leveled my gaze. Maybe I am too much, and I won't diminish so you feel safe. The air crackled. She backed away, tears gathering. I don't know who I am without your approval, she whispered. I stayed calm. I quoted Martin Luther King Jr. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Then I added, but silence can drive out the love you never showed me. I turned to Carl. He built this world with my blood. Don't let him speak for me. I walked away. I left her there, breathless, words unspoken. Later, home in the dim quiet, my phone lit up. Email from Joy. Title: I'm sorry. I opened it slowly, blank page. At bottom, one line. I'm here now. Not for your satisfaction, only for truth. Maybe she's not ready, but maybe she's opening a door I thought forever closed. I came home later than usual. Stopped at the end of the driveway when I noticed the faint blue glow of the mailbox sensor still on. I hadn't checked it in a couple of days, mostly junk. But tonight, there was a single envelope, hand-addressed. My name, no return. Back inside, I slid it open under the kitchen light. The wedding invitation, again. But this time, tucked inside was something new. A small note, cream-colored, handwritten in looping script. For the man who was always there, even when unseen. Thank you. I stood there holding it, unable to move. It was like being offered a cup of water in the middle of a drought, enough to keep breathing, not enough to call it relief. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it was sincere. I reached for my journal, the same one I've kept since before Truett was born. Wrote a single line, so they remember me now. But to what purpose? The rest of the evening felt restless, like the wind knew something I didn't. I called Joss. He still had that old keycard to the private screening room at the venue where the wedding was being edited. Within the hour, I was sitting alone in the dark, facing a projection screen that would soon confirm or undo every suspicion I'd buried under years of tolerance. I asked the tech guy to roll the raw footage, not the highlight reel. He hesitated. I didn't blink. We watched in silence. At first, I saw what everyone else saw. Joy, radiant in her dress, Truett beaming beside her. The guests, clapping, smiling. Camera panned across the crowd, but something was off. I noticed the angle avoided my aisle. The front row was shown. Just not mine. My seat, my face. I had been edited out. Then we queued up the original, uncut version. It felt like watching a ghost walk into the room. Me, standing there, still, solid. I caught the small nod I gave Joy as she walked down the aisle. I saw Carl glance toward Truett, then whisper something, and 5 seconds later, the feed cut. They erased me, I whispered, but didn't delete me. Back home again, I sat with the footage queued on my phone. I sent one message to both of them, Truett and Joy. I have the full video. I won't stay erased. Watched the clip again. Watched the body language. Remembered the day. I once told Joy when she was a teenager, crying over a yearbook photo, a picture can lie as much as life can. Now I knew, power didn't lie in apology, it lay in truth revealed. I sent the video file to the full vendor list and every family contact I had. Let them all see what I saw. My phone pinged with red receipts one by one. I didn't open a single one. The night pressed in. No tears, no yelling, just stillness. Lorraine's voice echoed from years back. You don't need their applause to know your worth. I mouthed it again, slower. If I leave, they'll write me out again. If I stay, I have to redraw the lines. I stared down at that returned invitation. The thank you note had meant something. But I couldn't attend a ceremony where I'd already been erased once. I decided I'd send a video message of my own, not for drama, not for guilt, for clarity, for the record. Just past midnight, the house phone rang. I almost didn't pick up. Dad? Joy's voice, wavering, raw. I saw the video. I waited. We need to talk, she said. Tomorrow at noon, at the venue. I closed my eyes, let the quiet linger. Tomorrow, I said. I'll be seen. I arrived at the venue an hour early. Didn't plan it that way. I just didn't want to be late. The halls were quiet, only the sound of distant staff shuffling through final setup. Lining the corridor were framed photos from previous weddings, moments frozen in celebration. None of them were mine. Not that I expected to be in someone else's story, but there was one photo that made me stop. A young Joy, maybe 10 years old, laughing at a garden table. My hand, unmistakably mine, was resting on her shoulder in the corner of the frame. Cropped, half visible, like I was always supposed to be, part of the picture, but never the subject. I walked the rest of the hallway and found the private lounge. She was already there, standing by the window in a white rehearsal dress. She looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but the kind of exhaustion that lives in the chest. Her hands were clasped in front of her. No makeup, just real. She didn't turn around when I walked in. It was a long silence, the kind that fills the whole room with questions neither person wants to ask. Finally, she spoke without facing me. Why did you send the video? I stepped forward. Because I needed to be real to you again. She turned then. Her eyes held both water and fire. I saw her younger self inside them, searching, wounded, proud. We sat opposite one another. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. I wasn't perfect, I said, but I never left you. She didn't answer right away. Then quietly, I watched the video 3 times, not because I didn't believe it, but because I needed to remember what I forgot. Then it came, what I didn't expect. I always knew, she whispered. I knew you were there. I knew you paid for the flowers. I knew the toast they gave wasn't really yours. She looked down, twisting her fingers together. But I didn't know how to hold on to that truth without blowing everything else up. So I let it fade. I let the story become the story. I swallowed hard. Let the anger roll over me and keep going. I didn't want to carry it anymore. You needed me to say it, I said. She nodded. Words hold weight, I told her. So here's mine. I forgive you, Joy, and I hope you can forgive yourself, too. She closed her eyes, exhaled slow. Nothing dramatic followed. No hugs. No orchestra of apologies. Just something quieter. Mutual pain acknowledged. Mutual respect born from ruins. A photographer passed the open doorway and paused. Mr. Archer? I turned, not sure how he even knew me. Would you like a father-daughter shot? Joy glanced at me, unsure, then gave the smallest nod. We stepped outside to the terrace, just breeze and blue sky. No guests, no spotlights. The kind of moment you only get once if you're lucky. He lifted his camera. I said something soft. Joy laughed a little, touched my shoulder. The shutter clicked. She leaned in. I'll send you a copy. This time, you'll be in the frame. I smiled. Then let's make it worth framing. Rehearsal started not long after. I didn't stay. Didn't need to. I walked back inside, passing voices and chairs being aligned. A young usher caught up to me and offered a seat by the aisle. I shook my head. Could you do one thing? I asked. Sure. I handed him a sealed envelope. Slide this under the bride's chair before the ceremony starts. He nodded and ran off. Inside that envelope was just a line. Your first steps were toward me. I never forgot. I stepped out into the afternoon sun, feeling it on my back. My steps weren't heavy this time. I wasn't rejected. I wasn't erased. I was just released. On the drive home, the old radio flicked on by itself. Sinatra's voice filled the car. I did it my way. I laughed. Turned it up. Let the window down. I whispered to no one in particular. I wasn't the guest of honor, but I showed up anyway.